Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. It is a dreary day outside, but I don't seem to be brought down by dreary days. I don't know why that is. It makes me feel cozy, I think. So anyway, I've been doing some crocheting today, learning how to do the bobble stitch, which seems like it's a waste of yarn to me, but it's kind of cool. And I also finished a LinkedIn learning class about creating prompts for ChatGPT. And I thought that was helpful. I do use ChatGPT a lot to help me with some of my issues, some of my deficits. So I definitely add my own personality and all of that stuff to anything that I use with ChatGPT, but it's really helpful. I was thinking when I woke up for my nap today, because I also napped today, I was thinking how AI and all of these helpful tools that came out really came out at the right time for somebody who just had a stroke and has the deficits that I do. So, unfortunately, they're all digital. So that's where voiceover comes in. And I'm taking my voiceover class. It's like a, let's see, 3-month class, I think. It's until November, and I have been studying hard, and it's good. I'm learning a lot more taking the voiceover class than just listening to the pre-recorded videos, which I had already listened to. And it's held by a organization called iBug, IBUG, and they provide technology support for the blind. So this class I'm taking is specifically on using voiceover for Mac. And there's a lot of different people in the class. There are some people who are low vision, and there are folks that have been blind their whole lives. There have been people who are becoming blind because they have some sort of eye disease or something like that. So lots of different people in there. And I think I might be the only one in there who just has pain if I use my eyes. So I'm in a kind of a unique situation, but it's really going to be helpful for me, I think. And there is a tiny little part of me that thinks if anything gets worse for me, I will have this experience so that I will be able to pick that up more and more should things get worse for me. I don't anticipate things getting worse, but I didn't anticipate a stroke at all. So we'll just see what happens in life. So today I want to talk about willingness and also dependence. So willingness is what we did today in my AA meeting was we listened to, or I listened to, they read about step 3. And steps 2 and 3 can be challenging for folks that, are atheist, agnostic, that kind of thing. So it's this willingness to have faith in something bigger than yourself. That's really where this topic came from for me this morning. But what I wanted to talk about is just my experience with willingness and how I didn't have as much of a problem with you know what? I did. I mean, I was afraid to dive into this whole faith business because I didn't want to be judged by other people. And that's really unfortunate that I would have thought I would have been judged by people for having faith in something. That's pretty sick. Honestly, that's pretty sick. But that's the truth. That's what I felt like. And that's unfortunate. But um while you're listening, whether you are driving, walking your dog, or just sitting back in a meditative state and listening to this podcast episode, you are showing willingness. So, congratulations for that. And that small act of just clicking play for this episode it's a major act of showing um, that you are willing to grow. And that is an example of what we need in order to move forward in recovery. And sometimes that willingness can be blocked by fear. The moment that we become willing, even if it's just the tiniest little hint of willingness, things are set in motion. And it's just like all of go to the gym, going to the gym. It's more difficult to go the first time than it is to keep going. So, same thing, like just to get that one tiny hint of willingness seems to be more difficult. It was difficult for me when I decided that I was willing to do whatever it took to get sober, because I had willingness to try something, but I didn't have the willingness to do whatever it took to get sober. And that is what I needed. But that finally came after I showed just that hint of willingness. I need to do something. I know I need to make a change. And once I started that motion towards making a change in my life, it continued to roll. The train was moving, and I was on it, whether I was being dragged behind it or not. It was moving. And the same thing happened, man, when I after I had worked for 2 years, when I had my stroke. um I wasn't willing to admit that my life was any different than it was before I had my stroke. I just this morning I took my dogs out for their lunchtime walk, which, since it's kind of dreary outside, we didn't go very far. But I can't believe it's 4 o'clock already. But we were out there, and I thought, and I mentioned this not long ago. I was walking and I said to myself, it really sucks that I had a stroke. Like, this really sucks. And I hate when I have that mindset. But the most difficult time that I was faced with was that initial decision, willingness to go all in for recovery, to step away from my job and try to heal. And once I did that, the train was in motion. And that, again, I was being dragged behind the train for quite a bit of that. But it was that I needed that key, the key of willingness to unlock the door. And here I am, and even after over a year of dealing with this, I still have times that I'm like, it's like I want to shut the door. Like, I want to not be willing anymore. I want to do things my way. And I have to practice acceptance. So all of this seems to happen for me on a daily basis. I have to have that willingness every day. I'm feeling very pensive because I'm just thinking about today alone. I took my nap early today from like 11 to 2 or 1:30, 11 to 1:30, which is unusual for me. I took a early nap because I let the dog sleep with me last night, and my Weimaraner, although very cuddly, is a little difficult to sleep with because she's so big and I can't. I like to roll back and forth over and stuff, and I can't do that when she's in the bed. So anyway, I was kind of tired, and so I took my nap. I woke up at like 1:30 and I didn't want to get up. I was sitting there, but I didn't want to get up from the standpoint of what do I have to get up for? So you can see a lot of these challenging thoughts are continuing to go through my head. And it seems like it's been a lot more over the past couple weeks. I don't know why that is, but I'm going to continue to share about it here, and I'm sure that we'll get to the core of it. I don't necessarily feel depressed, like I need to go back to the psychiatrist, but I think I do need to maybe sit down and write out what are my goals for the next month. It helps if I become more methodical about my days, put everything into a plan, and that kind of thing. So, that door that I cracked open with willingness feels like sometimes it gets slammed shut with me trying to take my will back. And if I continue to practice what I preach, I'll continue, I'll keep a foot in the door, and keep it open and keep walking through it. And that's powerful. Like a little bit of willingness continues to grow and it becomes this faith and this faith that you couldn't have stirred up. It's not like you understand what the recipe is and you can just come up with faith. It is something that seems to build on its own if we just start off with the first ingredient, and that's willingness. So, self-will, I talked about, I want to take my will back. And that used to be, I just lived by self-will. I wanted to make all the decisions and I wanted to control every outcome, manage every single detail of my life. And although I felt very self-sufficient, which I've also talked about, like we spend our whole first part of our life trying to become independent and self-sufficient. And then I learn when I get sober, like, no, no, you're doing it all wrong. Like you need to rely on others. Like you need to ask for help. You need to be able to, if your backpack is too heavy, you can ask somebody else to help you carry it up the hill. So it turns out that self-sufficiency can be downright harmful in sobriety if 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 I don't let other people in, if I walk through that door of willingness and then I close it behind me, I need to leave it open and let other people walk with me. I If I operate solely on self-will, I'm blocking the what's the word I'm looking for? I guess the collaborative way of living with other people. I really believe now that I'm sober, sorry, that's the Weimaraner. Autumn, quiet. Sorry. Sorry, people. I know, Autumn, quiet. Hopefully you can hear her and you don't just hear me going, quiet, quiet. She's looking out the window at something. Might be the Amazon truck. She loves the Amazon truck. So just ignore her if you hear her. So I really believe that we are here not as individuals, but as part of a whole, as a human being. And the more I try to control, the more chaotic things become. The more I try to isolate and do things my way, the more crazy things are, the more wrong things are for me. And then the minute I surrender and I open myself up to receiving guidance, I can let others help me. And that's such a relief. And maybe that is the key to what I'm struggling with right now, this idea of, oh, it sucks that I had a stroke. I probably need to get on the phone and call somebody, right? The more willingness that I have to depend on something outside of myself, that's you and my sponsor and whatever other help is available to me, the more I'm willing to depend on other people, the more independent I actually become. Um, so the fact is that I learn everything the hard way. And what I'm learning these days is that, especially over the past year, is that not every decision has to be mine. I don't need to figure everything out in recovery. And I can apply that to all facets of my life. I don't have to figure everything out as far as my relationships go. I don't have to figure everything out about my future. The more that I'm trying to like envision, there's a timeline, okay? And there's a moment in time when I decide I need to figure out this problem. Okay. So I'm at, we'll say, point A on the timeline. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure out this problem. Well, the timeline keeps moving, right? But I'm stuck at point A trying to figure out the problem. So time continues to move, and I am stuck in the same self-sufficiency loop at point A. Meanwhile, the whole world is continuing to move. If I were to let go and continue to move on with life, I bet you that that issue that I was so stuck on in self-sufficiency trying to resolve at point A, I bet you that's going to figure itself out. It often does. And I'm learning how to allow that to happen in my life. I'm learning how to allow the world to function without me. It's not like I can control it, so I don't know why I pretend to. But it's one of my character defects, but I know that I'm not unique in that. There's lots of people who it's like you're riding one of those um what's it called when you inner tube when you're snow skiing, but you're inner tubing instead, and then you grab a hold of the ring to have it take you back up the hill. It's like that ring is like the problem that I want to resolve on my own. And I let my self-sufficiency trying to figure out that problem be what carries me through the timeline. And I'm not going anywhere, you know. All I'm going to do is get back to the top of the hill. But I missed everything on the way. I don't know if that was a great analogy, but um, allowing others to help make decisions with me in some areas of my life is a huge shift. And there is a freedom from not feeling like I have to solve everything, letting others help me carry that load, that decision-making load. It makes me feel a little bit lighter. And I have a little less stress and anxiety when I'm not just stuck. I'm constantly, that hamster is just stuck on that wheel. Um, so I was just thinking, I went on a site called I think it was called, oh shoot, I can't remember. Something about presentations GPT. Slides GPT, that's what it is. Slidesgpt.com. And it's another AI website that if you put all your information in there, it'll create presentation slides for you. They're not terribly decorative or unique looking, but it does it for you. Anyway, you know how there's like a thinking icon when a website is thinking? Well, this website had a hamster running on a wheel today, and I was like, there it is. I wish I could steal that. That's what's running in my head, that hamster on that wheel. When I depend on my program, when I use the experience of others that I hear in the meetings that I attend every day, and I allow that to guide me, and I give people a call when I have something that I don't necessarily want to carry the decision-making load on my own. Um, there is just an easier, softer way to do it that way. So practicing dependence in the real world, out in the field. I've talked to you about going to meetings, and then we go to our meetings, we talk to each other, and then we go out in the field and we practice it. We're like salespeople, you know, we're going out in the field and we practice everything that we learned. Then we huddle back together in the morning, the next morning, and talk about what we learned that day, and we're helping each other live. And I can sit in one of those meetings or listen to a podcast and feel all zen and connected. But what happens when I actually go out into the real world, when I go out in the field? Like, that's when things can get messy and stressful and unexpected things happen. That's where my dependence on something greater than myself matters the most. And I'm not talking about unhealthy dependence like what we used to have, but more so the kind that allows us to lean on our program, our recovery tools, the people in our lives who support us. Like, can we practice dependence when we're facing difficult decisions and stressful situations and the chaos of everyday life? You know, it hasn't been very long since I was out in the chaos of everyday life, and I know that it's possible to find that peace, find that same peace that I feel when I'm sitting in an AA meeting. I can find it out there in the real world. If I pause, I can revisit what that mindset feels like, and it allows me to be a little bit stronger and allows me to depend more on the tools of the program. And I'm more capable of handling life with grace. So, so the key here is willingness. It opens the door to faith, and that faith is what leads us to something bigger than ourselves. And then we lean into that. And the more we can lean into something bigger than ourselves, be it a higher power or just a support group. The less that we feel that we need to make every decision, control everything ourselves, the more that we realize we're not doing this alone. So it all starts with willingness. It's just like get on the train, even if you're just holding on and it's dragging your feet behind. Like change will happen. All it takes is that little tiny bit of willingness, whatever it is that you're facing today. Like just say today, yeah, I'm going to do it. And that is willingness. Just saying, think about what is a decision that you need to make or that you've been holding on to, something that you have been spinning about, something, what is that point A on the timeline that has got you into this self-sufficiency loop? Is there some way that you can let it go? Is there some way that you can hop back on the timeline and catch up with everybody else? All it requires is one tiny hint of willingness to say, yeah, I'm going to do it. Because once you say that out loud, you're one step further than you were, So thanks for tuning in today to the Recovery Daily podcast. I will talk to you tomorrow.